Hello and welcome to Pastor's Perspective, sponsored by Calvary Chapel, Costa Mesa. My name is Brian Perez. Thank you so much for joining us on this Friday, February 16th, 2024. We are here live until 4 p.m. Pacific time. Give us a call at 888-564-6173. And if you're watching us on Facebook or YouTube, thank you for watching us on Facebook and YouTube. We've got the number there on the bottom of your screen so that you can call in with your questions until 4 p.m. Pacific time. You can also send in your questions on Facebook Messenger or on Instagram or by going to our flagship radio station's website, KWVE-FM. Look for the Pastor's Perspective page, fill out the form, send it in, and we just might read it here on the radio. We may not, but we might. Oh, that reminds me. Hold on. I need to get on my soapbox really quick. So one thing I don't like is when somebody will say in their message, their email or whatever, they'll say, I know you probably won't read this on the radio. It's like they're trying to manipulate to and to me, I just look at that as manipulation, and I just like right away want to, you're right, I'm not going to read it. Not because we don't want to tackle this subject, but just because I don't do manipulation. That being said, we recently did read an email that had that line in it. But again, we didn't read it on the radio because this person dared us to read it. So there, I'm off my soapbox now. So don't tell me.
This is Brian's little world that he is.
Yes.
I want to start all emails to Brian. I double dog dare you.
Yeah. I get 45 seconds at the beginning of the program to share my thoughts, and that's my thought.
Maybe we need a little counseling off the air for Brian.
No, a lot of counseling. Maybe a whole weekend's worth. Anyway, so we're here live today. Who's that voice that you hear? Who is that other than Brian Broderson, the senior pastor of Calvary Chapel, Costa Mesa? Say hi, Brian.
Hi, Brian.
Hi.
Hi, Brian.
Hi, Brian. I mean, I can say hi, Brian.
You can. The other voice is Ed Stetzer, the dean of the Talbot School of Theology at Biola University.
There you go.
He is
hi, Brian.
joining us today. He is, you can say hi, Brian's.
Yes,
exactly. Plural.
Who planned that? Who planned to have two Brians?
I don't know.
I don't know. Your parents, probably. Yeah. All right.
You know what's funny is I worked at a radio station once where there was a guy already there named Ken. And so this new guy, he was the program director. His name was Ken. He got rid of the other Ken because he said, there can't be two Kens working at a radio station. I was just like, oh, okay. And then, so
here's Brian Broderson from Calvary Chapel.
Thankfully, it's been 7.5 years here.
Wasn't there, was it KLOS that had a Brian and Brian? Wasn't
Mark and Brian.
Oh, Mark and Brian.
Yes.
Which is nothing like Brian and
Nothing
Brian.
like Brian.
But you're Brian and Brian. I'm on the Brian and Brian show today.
That's right.
I'm happy to be here.
We're glad to have you.
Good to see you got your Bible open. Man,
Yes.
I love that you're ready to go.
I am.
Large print. I shouldn't have probably said that.
Yeah, this isn't actually my Bible, but I saw that it's
large. You got to go for the large
That's
print.
why I have this.
I like that.
Yes.
So, Ed Stetzer.
Sure.
My friend, it's good to see you.
Good to see you, my friend.
You've lived in Orange County now for, maybe 7-8 months?
Yeah, something like that. So I see you're wearing a full-size parka jacket.
It's winter.
Because it's cold
It
for
is
you.
winter here.
It's cold for you. Yeah. All right, and did people know that you weren't feeling well, or is that a secret?
No, we've made that.
Okay, so you feel a little better now?
Yeah, I feel a little
Okay, good, because I love being around people when they're not healthy.
No, here's how I know I felt better. I did a 5-mile walk today. Yesterday, I only did 2, and I kind of was dragging afterwards, but so I'm good.
Good.
I'm back in action. But what I was going to say is, I almost think that up until this point, I saw you more when you lived in Chicago.
Dude, we
did now that you live down the street.
We went to Israel together. We've been all over the place together. But now we get to hang out now today. So this is like a win, and I'm honored to be here. And our wives hung out too, so that was fun.
And we are trying to figure out how to maybe do this at least one day a week together.
I'm trying. It's complicated.
Yeah. I know. I get it. Life is complicated. So, quick announcement for our local listeners. This Sunday night at 6 o'clock, we kick off our new teaching series through the New Testament in the Gospel of Luke. And this will be kind of my main teaching session. As we finish up the year, I will finish up my regular Sunday morning teaching.
Oh, wow.
And so this will be sort of my new place to consistently teach.
Nice. So you have Sunday morning and Sunday nights. So Char's mainly Sunday morning.
No, we both.
You kind of share that.
Well, we're just starting Sunday night, so this
is new. That was confusing me because you're starting Sunday night services. That's like when churches all across America are stopping Sunday night services. You are starting them. So if you are at a local church and you do not have a Sunday night service, here's your opportunity.
Well, we stopped Sunday night quite a few years ago.
Yeah, most churches used to have them.
And then, of course, we had a midweek for years and years, which I taught that, and then I finished the Old Testament, and then we went to a sort of a classroom type of an experience on Wednesday night, which is fantastic.
Sure.
We've got a dozen classes, and it's really been going well. But I want to teach, and there are people that do want to do the, through the Bible.
I love you're doing verse-by-verse exposition through Luke.
Yep.
Should I mention the series that I'm starting at another church in Orange County this Wednesday? Probably should. This is Calvary Chapel, Costa Mesa.
Well, you can't. If it's Wednesday, it's fine.
It's Wednesday.
As long
you don't
as
have
it's
anything
not Sunday.
Wednesday. So we're starting, Mariners is starting our midweek. I'll be doing a 6-week series on the renewal of all things, looking at the doctrine from regeneration to renewal and more. So if they can't come Sunday night, they can come Wednesday night to Mariners.
Yeah, okay.
But Calvary Chapel, Costa Mesa would be their first choice since this is the radio station of Calvary Chapel, Costa Mesa. And verse by verse through Luke. Literally the gospel of the Holy Spirit.
Yes.
Yeah, I love it.
Absolutely. And basically, this is the beginning of teaching through the New Testament. So we taught John a while back. We finished Sermon on the Mount recently. I taught Mark a few years ago. And I want to teach through the New Testament. So I thought, I always want to do this Luke to Acts thing.
Yeah, sure.
So that's
I've never done Luke Acts as a series. I mean, it's so so many people aren't even aware that Luke wrote Acts.
Yes.
And then you walk through it, and there's so many connections between the Gospel of Luke and the Book of Acts. It's just going to be amazing. How long are you planning to go through Luke Acts?
Well, I'm going to try to finish Luke this. So I go on sabbatical 2025.
Oh, I didn't know that.
2025. So I'm going to try to finish Luke before then.
So 2024 is Luke.
Have to pick up Acts.
How many chapters in Luke? It's
24.
Okay, 24. So it's...
Yeah, I figured I've got about 32 weeks to kind of work it out.
So. Okay, good.
Yep.
That includes all the travel time that you'll be gone?
Yeah, I have 32 weeks home.
Oh, okay. You already planned out 24. This is a man who plans ahead, Brian.
Wow.
It's pretty impressive.
Yeah, nice. I learned that from my professor, Dr. Stetzer.
Yeah. You were the
king
you
of
were the special student in our class. You were always, I got to come late. I gotta, and you weren't the last student. There was always this one guy who always knew when the class was done. I said you weren't the last student. So you know who I'm talking about. We shouldn't mention him on the radio, but he's from Oklahoma.
And his initials are?
I don't even remember what his initials be. Anyway, but you were an excellent student. You have a master's degree now in, I don't know what it was in. What is your master's degree in?
Well,
Christian leadership?
I mean, tell
Christian
me,
ministry?
what was it in? I'm trying to figure that out,
I don't remember, but you have a master's degree from Wheaton College. So
It was in ministry and leadership.
Ministry and leadership, that's what it was, M&L. Because I now, at Talbot, we have Christian ministry and leadership, so I've already started confusing the names of the degrees.
All right. Well, ours was Christian too, but it just didn't.
Right, it was. It is a Christian school.
Thanks for clearing that up.
Exactly.
I appreciate that.
It's basically, kind of seminary-like at Wheaton, and at Talbot, it's an actual seminary. So,
Yeah, so tell us a little bit about what is a dean, and what is it like now to be the dean at Talbot School of Theology?
Well, a dean is an academic administrator. Brian's laughing because I pulled up the Wikipedia article. It's a title employed in academic administration, such as colleges and universities, or for a person with significant authority over a specific academic unit. Okay, so basically what it means.
You have that page bookmarked, right?
I do, in case people ask. So in academia, like colleges and universities, Biola is, 6,000 students. And so of those students, a substantial portion of them, the largest school at Biola is Talbot. It's confusing to people because, what do you lead? Are you at Biola or Talbot? The answer is yes. So universities have multiple schools. I lead the one called Talbot. The president's over all of them. So that's Barry Corey, and there's other people like the provost, Matt Hall. And so I'm over the Talbot School of Theology, which both has an undergrad program, which is really significant because, all the students at Biola take 30 hours. They get a Bible minor. Like someone goes through and they're studying chemistry, they get a Bible minor, or they're studying psychology, a Bible minor. So we have a great undergrad faculty who teach in that. That's why it's the Talbot School of Theology and not just Talbot Seminary. But one day you'll come to the campus, you'll see on the side of the building, it says Talbot Seminary. So why is that? Because we have a seminary, too. It's the 5th largest multi-denominational seminary in the world, about 1,500 students at the graduate level. And so then together, that makes up the Talbot School of Theology, and I'm the dean, and you were supposed to come to the inauguration, and you didn't.
And I was sick.
I know, you texted me.
I was at home just feeling sorry for myself.
Because you know how I love being around sick people. So, so that would be great if you
But I did watch it online, and I thought it was an excellent service. I thought Dr. Corey was fantastic.
Yeah, he's great.
And your friend and fellow pastor, Eric Geiger, did a really nice...
he's from Mariners. And the main speaker was, people might not know him as well as David Dockery.
Yeah.
But he's a mentor for like so many colleges and seminary presidents.
Yeah, when I tuned in, he was the speaker, and I was trying to figure out who is this
Yeah, we
guy?
should have, like the live stream didn't have the titles underneath it because everyone inside had the program. So, but in hindsight, we should have added that.
Yeah, so. But it was great. It was good.
If you are here locally listening on our flagship station, K-Wave, you also know that Ed does the program called Ed Stetzer Live. It airs
What a
Saturday.
creative title we have.
Yeah, I know. How much did you pay for that?
Exactly. They actually had a team to come up with this. Yeah.
It's Saturday mornings at 9 o'clock. It's a call-in program, and you do the program live most of the time. Do you have a guest tomorrow? Do you know what your topic is yet? Or do you walk in Saturday morning and they say... Here, meet Fred. He wrote a book.
Yeah, no, it's going to be awesome tomorrow, and so I don't
Ed
remember.
pulls up second bookmark.
I'm drawing a blank. Wait a sec. Tomorrow it's right here. Like it's right here. Tomorrow, stay with me, is
February 17th.
February 17th, and that's going to be Tim Pickavance, and Tim is a philosopher. And see, I knew that all along. I'm not looking at my computer. People at YouTube could see this, right? So okay. Hi, YouTube. Sorry about that. For those of you on radio, so we have, we're going to be talking to Tim Pickavance, just kind of about the philosophies of the day that have become, so many ologies out there. And we're going to talk through some of them, help people think wisely about how to respond. And then we got others. We got Sean McDowell and John Merritt coming up, Set Adrift, Tom Rayner coming up after that. So, and these are all, we're on the Moody Radio Network, and we partner. And we're so thankful for the partnership at K-Wave, and that's how we're on in Southern California. So we're super excited with that. So.
Yep, Saturday morning, 9 o'clock, and you can call into the program. Not this phone number here. It's a different phone number.
Wouldn't that be funny? They're calling in, yeah.
Oh, they have.
Yeah. Oh, really?
Have.
Okay.
Yeah,
well,
and I've been here on Saturday mornings. They call in, and I have to tell them, no, it's a different number. Here it is. All right, but our number today is 888-564-6173. 888-564-6173. Brian Broderson and Ed Stetzer here to answer your questions. Shall we do one that was sent in online?
Did they preface?
Did they start by saying you will not share this?
This is not
radio.
One of those, but it is kind of.
You have a piece of paper. What is this? 1997?
I'm
old school.
Yes,
okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
This is how I do it.
Sorry, I just blurt things, Brian. This is why you like having me on the show. I'm a blurter. Anyway.
I keep Xerox in business.
There you go.
Is Xerox still in business? I don't know.
It is, and hole punch too.
And hole punch. Yes,
very serious.
Yes, the hole punch. Yes. Okay, so Scott wrote in, and he says, I was listening to the Wednesday program, and neither of you were here on Wednesday, but a lady called in asking if the Palestinians of today are the same as the Philistines in the Bible. After you asked questions for clarification, you said yes. Well, that is not true. The Philistines in the Old Testament were probably Greek origin, possibly related to the Sea Peoples who invaded Egypt in 1500 BC, and possibly the Phoenicians. The Palestinians of today in the West Bank area, or in the West Bank, are Arabs. There have been many invasions and migrations in Israel and the Middle East since the Old Testament times. I only comment because to answer yes identifies the Palestinians with the Philistines, who are always bad guys in the Bible, so therefore justifies calling the Palestinians the bad guys today. Indeed, Hamas is an enemy, but the Palestinian people should not be written off as an enemy. I believe there are more Christians in Palestinian-controlled areas than in Israel. Some Palestinians are our brothers and sisters in Christ. In any case, there should be humanitarian concern for Gaza and the West Bank.
Well, all I can say is, had Ed or I been on this program, we would not have answered yes, because this person is correct. The people today known as Palestinians are not the ancient Philistines. But an interesting thing, Ed, maybe you saw this recently, some research was done, some DNA research, and what they are discovering is that Palestinians, although, yes, many of them have Arabic origins, their DNA is very diverse. And what's showing up is that they actually do have relations to some of the ancient people in the land. Maybe not the Philistines, but the surrounding.
Yeah, there's not
countries.
what we would say. Again, I'm not an expert on the DNA of Philistines or Palestinians, for that matter. But what most people would say, there's not a direct line.
No,
but some of the nomenclature actually could be related. But again, there's fuzziness that's there.
Yeah.
But let me say that all that I just heard, that we should be concerned about the lives of humanitarian issues and more. I don't think we disagree with any of that.
No,
I think that's good. And we've been to Israel together. We've engaged with Palestinian Christians. Yep. I think while we were there, we engaged. I'm trying to remember. We both done multiple trips.
Yeah.
So, and I recently had the head of the largest evangelical seminary in the Middle East, who's Palestinian, in my office, and so. They're in Jordan now. It's a Jordanian Evangelical Theological Seminary, and he's Palestinian and wonderful brother in the Lord. I'm guessing you know him. Jets is okay. So it's a well-known school, solid Bible seminary, good folks.
Yeah, and of course, we have friends who are Palestinian, and we have friends who have even lost family members in this current situation in Gaza, and that's of course a tragedy. And anyone who sees it as anything less than that, I think, is not thinking clearly. But who said yes to that question?
I wasn't here Wednesday either, so I have no idea.
So I hope it's not like one of your staff members who's hearing you talk about them now.
I mean, when we're out, look what happens.
But just so you know, there is it's just not a directly. There are some ways that Philistines, Philistinia. There's nomenclature, so it's not an uncommon tie for people to make, but it's not a yes. It's not just a yes. So
yes, and there's always, and I think the same is true with sort of the Ishmael Arab connection. Because people will automatically say, "Oh, the Arabs are the Ishmaelites." Right. Well, I'm sure there's some DNA strands in there somewhere, but it's not a direct line from Ishmael to the Arabic nations. Right. So, yeah.
And the Sea Peoples is what we were talking about. The Philistines, the Sea Peoples is kind of where the most recent scholarship would point.
Yeah, that they were probably related to Greeks.
Maybe Greeks,
for sure.
That's what I think. Yeah.
Scott, thank you for sending in your question using the form on the Pastor's Perspective page of our flagship radio station's website, kwave.com.
And not including the phrase, "I know you won't answer this on the air."
That's the only reason why I read it this time.
That's right, exactly.
So I don't do manipulation. Sometimes I manipulate, but when they try it on me, no.
So that is Brian's pet peeve when it comes to any written content sent to us. But his other pet peeve, which almost everybody knows.
Yes, and this is why I need a weekend therapy session.
If you call in and you ask this question, you can send Brian. He
goes into a conniption.
He's triggered. He's triggered by, "Can you hear me?"
Oh, yeah. Right.
How do you handle that, Ed? You do a Saturday morning program.
And I'm sure you do as well, but we say to them, please don't say, "Thank you for taking my call."
Right.
And please don't say, "Can you hear me?"
Right.
But if people still say, "Thank you for taking," because I think that's polite. They want to be polite.
Yeah.
But we want to get right into the topic. But they still sometimes say, "Can you hear me?" And I think it's just like, I don't know, human nature. But I hear you, so don't. Can you hear me?
And I think I handle it better now. Before I,
he did need some therapy.
I did.
He got a little bit ruffled.
Nice.
Or medication or something. I don't know. All right, Lisa calling us from Irvine, California. We can hear you. Thank you for calling today on Pastor's
Don't thank us for taking your call.
Yes.
I will. Hello, gentlemen.
Hello.
How are you? Am I to give you my question? Or
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, this is my question. I am a professed Christian. My parents are Christians. My father is a minister here in Irvine. And we've always had me and my parents have always had our ebbs and flows in terms of, falling out and having little spats. Well, this last one we had in August resulted in my mom telling me she never wanted to speak to me again. Mm-hmm. And so I feel like I am the type of person to try to re-engage, but I feel like my hands are bound by that statement by my mom. My parents are 80, and I kind of feel like there isn't a lot of time left for them. And I just want to know, what is my biblical responsibility to this situation?
Pastor Brian?
Well, Lisa, I think of Paul's statement to the Romans, as much as depends on you, live peaceably with everyone. And so I think that is your responsibility to seek to do that. Now, you can't force your mother to change her mind, but I think you can just continue to extend the olive branch, so to speak. You could, just reach out in little ways that maybe would soften her up and eventually open the door for you guys to be fully reconciled. I think the thing you don't want to do, if you can avoid it, is you don't want them, as you said, they're 80, you don't know how much longer they're going to live. You don't want to risk, if you can help it, them passing away and you guys still having not resolved this kind of stuff. So, and sometimes, you just have to come and just apologize, even if you didn't really feel like you did anything to apologize for. I don't know if you've had this said, but I've had times where the Lord has said to me, go apologize. And I'm like, well, wait, what am I going to apologize for? Don't worry about it. Just do it.
Right.
Because you're just seeking to make peace is what you're doing. So maybe that's something that you would do.
Yeah, I would say that a phrase that really was helpful for me years ago, someone said to me that the person is more important than the point. Mm-hmm. So someone's making a point, there's a point of contention, and with your parents' age, you're not going to have them too long regardless. So I would try, but I would also say too, just, we don't know the complexities of why that relationship is broken. So we give general advice that for you to go the extra mile, to use the biblical, to Jesus language, you go the extra mile for you to be at peace with all men. So as far as it is up to you, I think that's worth doing. And I have people in my life, and when it's family, it's harder. There are people in my life where I'm like, I've got some boundaries, et cetera, et cetera. But this doesn't sound like there's boundaries being crossed inappropriately. There's a broken relationship. So if I could do so in a healthy and safe way, I would probably try to have some relationship in the final years of my parents' life.
Does this help you, Lisa?
It does. Thank you, gentlemen, so much.
Cheering you on, Lisa.
Thank you for calling today on Pastor's Perspective. 888-564-6173 is our number. We've got Brian Broderson and Ed Stetzer here to answer your questions until 4 p.m. Pacific Time, 888-564-6173. Let's talk to Allie, who's listening in Orange County, California. Welcome to the program, Allie.
Hi, thank you so much for taking my call. I listen to you guys all the time, and I'm such a big fan, and thank you so much.
Thank you.
Welcome.
I recently went to a non-denominational church's Ash Wednesday, and how it was started, I didn't know Ash Wednesday wasn't in the Bible, and I guess I have a question about if it was started by the early church, because that's something that was said, and what is like the definition of the early church, and if that's just something that's what non-denominational churches normally practice. I know it's more Catholic because I was calling around asking like, hey, are you guys doing an Ash Wednesday too? And so that's like the response that I got a lot. So I was wondering from your perspective, Pastor Brian, because I know that you have like a Catholic background too.
Yeah. So did you go? Did you say you went to a service?
Yes, I did.
Yeah. And what did you think?
Well, so I grew up going to Christian schools and a Christian background, and then I went to a Catholic high school.
Okay.
And it felt like that totally. There was a pamphlet and, like reading, and then it was very different than what I was used to.
Mm-hmm.
just
Yeah.
like a normal service, I say. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. So the idea behind it is, of course, as they place the ashes on your head. When I was growing up in Catholicism, I would go on Ash Wednesday and they would put the ashes on your head and they would say, "From dust you came, to dust you shall return." So it was a reminder of your mortality, basically. And of course, it's the beginning of Lent, and Lent is something that is practiced not just in Catholicism, but in liturgically based churches like, say, Anglicanism, or we call them Episcopalians here, some high Presbyterian churches. They're all going to be a bit more liturgical, so this will be part of their liturgy. When did this originate? Oh, I don't know, probably somewhere 4th, 5th century or something like that. I don't know if there's an exact date that anybody knows where it originated, but things, as church history went on, Christians would adopt various practices. There was nothing the matter with them. There's nothing the matter with doing that. But I think for people who have grown up in a sort of an evangelical environment and a non-denominational church where there has not been any emphasis in any way on any type of liturgical sort of an approach. And by liturgy, I mean, you have a very structured kind of a service where you're repeating prayers and doing things like that. Some people just, wow, this is kind of freaks people out. Here at Calvary Chapel, about a year ago, I think, we started saying together as a congregation the Lord's Prayer. Now, some people just didn't know what to do with it. People didn't know the Lord's Prayer. People didn't understand, why are we doing this? People who went to the Catholic Church thought, what, are we becoming Catholic again? No, we're just saying the Lord's Prayer together.
Which is in the Bible.
Kind of in the Bible. Yeah. Now, Ash Wednesday is not in the Bible, but
Prayer. Oh.
yeah, but I think some Christians would point back to the Old Testament, where ashes were a part of that. So I think one of the things that's happened in a lot like non-denominational churches, so like Mariners Church has an Ash Wednesday service, and so we do the imposition. The word is the imposition of ashes, so I think that has become more common. I think it's one of the things it's extra biblical, but it's not unbiblical, unless you bring into it meaning that's not there. I mean, often people will say, you are but dust, and to dust you will return. So I think that it's a reminder, so when people go to Ash Wednesday service, and like I said, it is often more high church or liturgical churches, but I know Rock Harbor Church doesn't actually, I think what people do is it's a reminder of that they are mere mortals who will die and return to dust. And if that causes you to look to the Lord, it doesn't kind of get you caught up with, works-based salvation or anything of that sort, but just reminds you of the beauty of the gospel and the temporal nature of our human bodies. Well, praise God for that.
Yeah, and I think that's good. And I think, I know in my experience, it's like a younger generation that grew up in very, the non-denominational church.
We call that low church, like low church expressions. So they got music and they got preaching, that's all they got.
That's got, yeah. But a lot of the kids that grew up in that, they have been attracted to some of these more ancient practices.
Including my daughter. I just talked to my daughter on the way here, and she's engaged in more of an Anglican tradition.
And there's a certain beauty to that they appreciate. So there's absolutely nothing the matter with it, like Ed said, unless, of course, you were to turn it into something that's non-biblical. And I don't think you will find any church practicing an Ash Wednesday service that's doing that.
Yeah, in evangelical church, in kind of that Bible-believing space,
Yeah.
Now, Allie, I think you said you were visiting this church. Do you have a church home?
I listen online, and then I've been going to them recently. So,
cool.
Yes.
Okay.
Kind of. Yeah.
Yes, kind of. Yeah. Well, Calvary Chapel Costa Mesa is an amazing congregation.
Yes.
So I'd say that.
And you live here in Orange County, so we would love to see you, especially on a Sunday night when Pastor Brian Broderson now starts his going through the New Testament. That'll be this Sunday is the first one, February 18th at 6 p.m. You can get details at cccm.com.
Something I'm excited about talking about is the intertestamental period.
Oh.
Because there's 400 years between Malachi and Luke.
Was he silent? You have to wait to see.
A lot of things are going on.
A lot of things are going
A lot
on.
of crazy things are going on. But
bring on the Maccabees.
Yeah, we'll talk about it.
You're going to talk about that this Sunday?
Oh, yeah.
Awesome. All right. Allie, thanks for your phone call. We're going to take a quick break, and then we'll be back with more of your questions. We've got Brian Broderson and Ed Stetzer, the Dean of the Talbot School of Theology at Biola University. They're both here till 4 p.m. Pacific time to answer your questions at 888-564-6173. Grab an open line. If you're watching on Facebook or YouTube, you can call us. The number's right there on the bottom of your screen. It's 888-564-6173. We are back on Pastor's Perspective. Thank you so much for listening on the radio on this Friday afternoon/evening, or maybe you're watching us on Facebook or YouTube, or maybe you listen on a podcast. Either way, thank you so much. My name is Brian Perez, and answering your questions today until 4 p.m. Pacific time, we've got Brian Broderson, the senior pastor of Calvary Chapel, Costa Mesa in Southern California, and our guest, we haven't had him on in a while, and we hope to have him on a lot more this year, Ed Stetzer.
I was banned after last time.
You were banned. Okay, is that what it was?
It was.
Because of that one thing you said?
I don't remember what I said, but I got banned for that. So
Ed is the Dean of the Talbot School of Theology at Biola University. He's also written a book called Christians in the Age of Outrage.
You had a copy. Look at you.
Which is about Christians in the age of outrage.
Thank you.
So if you want to know more about Christians in the age of outrage, you might want to check out
and
that
book.
Is
one of a dozen plus books that you have written. Now, you told me a couple of years ago that you were taking a sabbatical to write books.
Thank you very much for having me on the program, everyone. God bless. We'll see you next time.
Where are those books?
So I just had a recent conversation with my publisher and got a new deadline. So this summer, the current state and the future of evangelicalism, what's our path forward, will be turned in by August 31st.
Okay.
Or I'm in trouble with my publisher and my agent and a few other people.
Yeah, because that book came out a while ago.
Yeah, I know. It's been 5 years since I published
2019?
a book. No, 2018.
Was that 2018?
So 5 years since almost coming on 6 years since I published a book, and I'm like a professor.
Yeah, but you made us read that book in our class.
Made us read? You mean you had the blessing and the privilege? My heart poured into that book.
We had to read it.
Did you find it helpful?
I did. I enjoyed it.
Okay,
I thought it was excellent.
Good. See, there you go. There you
Yeah.
go. I was
And I think
fishing
it's,
for a
I
compliment.
think it's still relevant today.
I think,
too,
well, the great
you know?
thing about writing a book on outrage in 2018 is you got a straight run. I figure at least for the rest of this year, it's election year, everybody's going to be mad. So maybe 25 people are like, I don't want to read about outrage anymore, but there's plenty of outrage going on. So,
All right, 888-564-6173.
Speaking of outrage,
Uh-oh.
yeah, wow, that escalated quickly.
well, I do think we should. We had a conversation earlier this week about the Super Bowl ad that he gets us at.
Yep.
And Ed has been personally involved with the folks who have put these ads out for a few years during these events. Are they at big sporting events or just the Super Bowl?
No, all kinds of big sporting events.
Okay.
Yeah. It's mainly sporting events and regular TV as well. They ran some ads on regular TV.
Okay, so as you well know, Ed, there's a bit of controversy over this past this one particular ad that showed where the people were washing.
The foot washing thing, yeah.
Yeah, the foot washing thing.
I saw it.
So, so can you give our listeners a little bit of perspective on that?
Well, so involved, let's talk about what the word involved. I was the advisor, so I would, advise along the way. I think the ad, there was one in the Super Bowl last year, and the campaign is, you have to think of in terms of like a box. And inside this box, the creative people in the campaign are trying to create ads that cause people to want to explore more about Jesus. And, that's the desire, is that people would explore more. So they see an ad, they go to the website, think like back the three of us are old enough to remember the I Found It campaign.
Mm-hmm.
You'd see these bumper stickers, Crew, Campus Crusade did this, and you'd say, well, I found what? And then they'd give you more information. But back then there wasn't the internet. It wasn't a big thing. So in this case, you watch the ad and then you go to the website, and the website has more information about the ad, like the practice of foot washing in this case of the ad there. And then you can go to Bible reading plans. Hundreds of thousands of people have then subscribed to the Bible reading plans. And then there you kind of explore who Jesus is and learn more about Jesus. So they're creative, they're challenging, they're conversation starters. So I know that people had different opinions about. And I get that. I had opinions about this as well. But I hope that our listeners around the water cooler this week with people who didn't know Jesus were talking and saying things like, well, would you like to learn more about Jesus? Would you like to know more? Because, the campaign's the campaign. They're going to, do what as they want to do. But man, can you imagine the millions of conversations that could flow out of that, and the followers of Jesus at all of our wonderful churches in Southern California were saying, hey, let's talk more about Jesus. You want to learn more about Jesus? Let's get together and talk more about Jesus. So that's my hope, is that I think it's a lot, people can be, well, I wish you would have done this. I wish you would have done that. And again, I'm just an advisor, and, I advise. I don't have to take all my advice. I don't take all my advice. But I would say that my hope is that the focus of, D.L. Moody was someone who once said, I don't like the way you do evangelism. And he said, I like the way I do evangelism better than the way you're not doing evangelism. So, and even I would say, too, like these ads are more conversation starters. They're not even intentionally evangelism. But let's not spend so much of our energy where I think we can talk about it, and I think that's helpful. But let's talk to our neighbors about Jesus. Yeah. Let's talk to our neighbors about Jesus.
Yeah, and I think there's lots of strong opinions about a lot of those things. I mean, whether it's that or whether it's the Chosen film series, or even the Jesus Revolution movie or whatever, there's a lot of opinions about, well, why didn't they do this? And I
didn't see people mad about the Jesus Revolution movie. I mean, who can be mad at Greg Laurie? He's our friend. But it is interesting, the reaction to The Chosen. It's kind of like, I was just out there at the set, and Doug Huffman, who's one of our professors, our New Testament professor at Talbot, is one of the three advisors. They have three advisors: a Messianic Jewish rabbi, Catholic priest, and Doug Huffman, who teaches at Talbot. And so we flew out there, and I did a bunch of videos at the set right before it was out, so you can actually see. I don't even know if they've gotten to the room we were in yet. It's kind of like a synagogue kind of setting. But I get that like some Presbyterians have a strong, second commandment concern about making an image. But I guess for me, Brian Broderson, Brian Perez, I'm just of the view that, I didn't grow up in a Christian household, and Jesus saved me and he changed me. And what I want is more people to hear about the good news of the gospel, and I want more Christians talking about the good news of the gospel. So, and I would say, if you don't, if what the Chosen's doing not your thing, great, but man, maybe someone. I mean, I was sitting in a hotel room and I was on the CW, like that's a TV network, and like there's Jesus stuff on the TV, and I'm like, let's talk to people about that. That's my passion.
Yeah, I agree, and I think it's an interesting time where I'm hearing more and more and more of these kinds of stories that probably you are too, Ed, but about people who are coming to faith through these really just interesting kinds of things like this, where they just suddenly even something like the He Gets Us ad, it triggers something, and it starts a process that might go on for some years even, but eventually brings them. And when they kind of trace everything back, it's like, well, I turned on the TV and I saw this thing and the people were washing feet and I thought, what is that? Yeah. And I'm hearing more and more of those
And I would say that the thing that the Lord's going to use in that is that, how beautiful are the feet of those who tell good news. It's going to be friends who know the Lord, who talk to people who are on a journey. And so for me, that drives me. I led the Billy Graham Center when we were at Wheaton together. I led the Billy Graham Center there because I want to see more people articulating the good news of the gospel of Jesus Christ. And I would say that The Chosen is doesn't end with an evangelistic presentation. 30-second ads or 60-second ads don't have the time to do an evangelistic presentation. You could debate, how best to articulate that. But you know who's supposed to share the gospel? Right here. You, me, and the folks listening right here. If you're a follower of Jesus, you might say, well, I don't have the gift of evangelism. Well, here's great news for you. There's no such thing as the gift of evangelism mentioned in the Bible. I don't know if you think that, but I do. Because it's not a spiritual gift on the list. So God has given evangelists who equip God's people for works of service. So all of God's people are called to share the good news of the gospel. And I just think that there's so much out there that's, The Chosen or TV commercials or whatever. I mean, even like the Jesus Revolution, like people going into theaters, like what's going on over there? Well, let me tell you about what's going on over there. And I think people are open to hear the good news of the gospel. Let's not shrink back from it. Let's lean into it.
Wasn't there a story, too, that somebody saw the title Jesus Revolution on the marquee and they thought maybe it was an anti-Jesus movie or something about... I think I heard that.
I didn't. Are you making that up? Is that like the Philistines?
As I go along. No, I thought I heard that. Maybe it was a dream.
It's the kind of thing that could happen. I had a friend in the Bay Area, who was telling us that... They was kind of very mad at evangelicals a few years ago, and she came into this church. This woman came into this church and said, "I want to go to your church because I heard it was an evangelical free church." and I was like, "Really? This is an actual story?" So she thought there were no evangelicals because it's an evangelical free church. Well, as you know, evangelical free is a denomination. Has to do with the history of free church tradition. But I thought, you never know what the Lord does. Like, how many surprising mistakes has the Lord used?
Yeah, for sure.
That this is why I mean I'm all for sound doctrine, as you know.
I hope that's not the end of the sentence. Yes.
Precision when it comes to articulating the gospel ultimately. But I am also very aware of the fact that God can take the tiniest little grain of truth.
That's right.
And He can use it to plant that seed that will eventually...
Well, I think that's why, we just rejoice that the gospel's shared and hopefully join in the sharing of that gospel.
For sure. 888-564-6173 is our number. Let's go to Houston, Texas, where Anthony is listening on the KWVE app. Thank you for downloading the app, and thank you for calling us today. Are you a former Californian? Is that how you knew about our radio station?
Yes, sir. I actually grew up in Burbank and was blessed to go down to Diamond Bar and see Raul Reese and also Ryan Reese, the Whosoevers, and I love Calvary Chapel.
Very cool. Well, thank you for downloading the app, and thanks for calling today. What's your question?
Praise God for you guys. I love hearing your show, and I have what I would think is a good problem. I'm actually trying to just get locked into a home church. I was away from the Lord for a long time, and, He brought me back, and it's never felt so great. When He first led me back, He led me to a non-denominational church in the area, which was great. They had a Sunday service, which was awesome. But I was looking for something for a Wednesday and a Sunday, and when I did that, I found a Southern Baptist church, a little smaller, something I was originally where I was saved was a smaller church like that. And I've been serving at both, attending at both. The bigger one now has a Saturday and Sundays, and I'm just trying to see if I need to be accountable to one church or if I could attend both, or what you guys could suggest is the best option to go moving forward.
All right. Ed Stetzer, what do you say?
It's a more common question than it used to be. And I think in part, we were talking about you starting the Sunday night service and preaching through Luke, is that, 30 years ago, churches had Sunday morning, Sunday night, Wednesday night. So you didn't have different options. But my guess is that you would be thrilled to see people like when I came did I forget what it's called, but the Wednesday night thing at your church at Calvary Chapel, Costa Mesa, there were some people, the Mariners from came over, and I was happy to see them because we don't always have a Wednesday night service. I think for me, I do think that I want Christians to be in a covenant community in a local church. In other words, there are two places in the New Testament where it says put them on the list. It's actually referring to widows, but there's a list, and I want people to be perceived of by a congregation as being a part of that congregation for care, for accountability, even for church discipline and more. So I am intrigued because just earlier today I was talking with Matt Hall at Biola, and I was talking about why so many Southern California churches don't have membership. And we kind of talked about maybe it's a little bit of history from maybe the influence of Chuck Smith and Calvary Chapel. So, and I don't know you need like a formal membership, but I kind of the view that you should have a church that this is the church that I am committed to and is committed to me. I'm in covenant community with those folks. And then I think it's great to come by like people do and learn from another church, et cetera, et cetera. But I do want to know. I mean, we could even you maybe answer Anthony's question first, like get your thoughts on it. But I do want to know a little bit about the history of no membership as well, because that's true at all kinds of churches in Southern California, which is different than the rest of the country. But what do you think about Anthony? And are you with me that he should be primarily rooted in one church as his church home?
Yeah, I do think more and more. I do think that is important. I think that you want to be part of a community that you're really bonded with. You're growing in life together with them. You're helping when help is needed. You're being helped when you need the help. You're teaming up and serving the Lord together. So I do think the idea of just sort of, belonging to 3 or 4 different churches is not a great idea.
Yeah, and belonging might be the key word. So I would belong to one church, and I'd be blessed by others.
Visit occasionally to others, yes, or to go to special events, or to,
Well, and I don't even I would have like your Sunday night thing. Yeah. I would rejoice if someone from my church, Mariners, were to come say, I want to learn through the book of Luke. Yeah. But at the same time, just as if someone might come to the Wednesday night thing I'm doing at Mariners, I would want them to identify as part of your congregation under the pastoral care leadership. I mean, I think a church is a covenant community of people.
Yeah, I agree.
Plus, it also gets complicated when it comes to tithing. Are you going to do 5% here, 5% there? Or?
Yeah, I guess he didn't ask about that. Maybe he's just got given, he's independently wealthy and he's given all kinds of...
In that case, yes.
So can you tell me about the... is that okay?
I do think that you're onto something. I do think that it was probably the influence of Chuck and Calvary Chapel that led to this sort of...
So the conversation I had today, maybe an urban legend, is that we know Chuck came out of the Foursquare, and I've consulted and worked with the Foursquare. Pastor Jack kind of contract with me several years, and they do have they count. They have to turn in their numbers each year, and there's an apportionment that sort of comes out of that as well. And what I heard today was Chuck sort of just didn't like that, so they don't have membership because that was that.
And I think there's a lot of truth to that.
Okay.
And I think with Chuck too, it was a come as you are, and Chuck didn't want anybody to feel any kind of pressure. Chuck was a non-pressure guy. So if you got to sign up and become a member, to him,
it feels like pressure. And that was, if we all watched Jesus Revolution, we know. So how do you think of people at Calvary Chapel, Costa Mesa as part of the family to whom you pastor and you serve? You're accountable. They're accountable to you.
Well, this is what Chuck would say, and this is kind of what we've always done. Even though I think now we probably think a little bit more along the lines of not membership, but we want to see people committed. Chuck would say, if you regularly attend, if you give, and if you serve, you are a member.
Okay.
That was how membership was understood here.
Okay. And then you're we're in community together. We're caring for one another. We're bearing one of those burdens. There's 30 commands in the New Testament you can't do unless you're in some sort of close relationship with people, and that's how it takes place. So I would be among those. I go to Mariners. We don't have membership. I would be among those who prefer a more formal membership, that you go through a class and you articulate that this is my church home, and we kind of commit to one another that way. But again, I get.
Yeah. And I think right now in our history, I think we're probably in the middle. I think we're somewhere, because I think the younger generation guys, my son, I think they, although they're not saying, hey, we need to have a membership, I think they think more in terms of, we want to know who's with us. We want to know who's here.
Because it's part of, we're committed to one another. Because I think part of the challenge, and just in Southern California, we're talking about our churches, is the remarkable, and Anthony, this is what we wouldn't want for you, and because it's probably true in Houston here, is the remarkable level of consumerism that we don't want. We don't want you to say, well, I'm not really happy with the music over here. Or I don't like this sermon series, so I'm going to go over there. We want you to get into a church, and dig into that community, be in fellowship and covenant community with them, serve, get through the hard times and the good times, and to make that your home, the church home. There's a reason we call it a church home. This is home for us. That would be my advice to Anthony, is to have a church home and then to have church friends. I think you can do both.
Yes. And it, when you really dive in and that becomes your home, there's something to that is, it's a beautiful thing. And, that's been my experience over the years of pastoring churches and having these really bonded communities where, I have people today that I used to pastor over 30, even close to 40 years ago, who I'm still their pastor, even though they have their pastor that they love. Yeah. When a difficulty comes, they're like, hey, Brian, can I talk to you? Can I pray with you? And that's
those lifelong relationships. I do a sermon, a message on the importance of being in covenant community. And I gathered all these clips, all these movies. And in these movies, when they're about to die, they turn to one another and say, it's been an honor serving with you. The honor's been mine. And then, and you can find that. It's almost a cliche thing. So I found 10 movies like that. I'm trying to remember. X-Men was one. There's a Star Trek scene with one, and they turn to another. It's been an honor serving with you. The honor's been mine, sir. And then they're all about to die. And sometimes they make it. And I just said, I want you to have a church where you turn to somebody and say, it's been an honor serving with you, and you're going to continue together. Because I think even the world longs for that, so it ends up in movies. Yeah. But I have for me, I'm just now, we're just starting our small group at Rooted. So Rooted is something Mariners does. So we're just now getting into a small group. But Eric and I have been close friends for 15 years. And so I can turn to them, and it's an honor to serve with you. And you've got people here that you say the same. And that's what I want for Anthony, is it's an honor to serve with some folks, and then the bombs will come and we'll all die. So, okay, not that part. That's just in the movie.
It's an honor to serve with you.
It's an honor to serve with you, Brian.
And you too.
And you too, Brian.
Yeah.
I can show you the clip. It's kind of a fun clip.
I'd love to see that.
I had somebody put it all together, because I'm not much of a clip person, but it's just such a cultural longing.
I love it.
And yet
Send me that thing.
But it's a cultural longing, but we don't lean in enough to have that. And I know people I've been here lots of times to Calvary Chapel, Costa Mesa, and I see how people love you and you love them, and you're in this together, and you're just making a gospel difference. Yeah. And I want Anthony, I want all of our listeners to have that. And if you're going to be a consumer of the religious goods and services at this church not saying Anthony's doing that, but if you're going to be a consumer of the religious goods services, let's use Southern California, at your church and my church and another church, you're not going to experience that. We're in this together. Let's make a gospel difference.
Anthony, thank you for your phone call today on Pastor's Perspective. 888-564-6173 is our number. Brian Broderson and Ed Stetzer here to answer your questions. Let's see how many more we can get to before the program ends. This program has been around for 20 plus years. I've been hosting the program for about 6.5 years, and I don't think we've ever had this question. Right. Monica, listening in L.A. on KWVE.com. What's going on, Monica?
Hi. My question is, a friend of my, Pharaoh. Now, I know that Pharaoh and his men were drowned in the Red Sea. But my question is that what happened to Pharaoh? Do we have any idea what happened to him? And the reason I asked the question is because a friend of mine named his baby Pharaoh, and his mother that was a good name for a baby.
And it's Pharaoh, not like Farrell, the singer? You sure it's Pharaoh? Like
not Pharrell.
Or Pharrell, yes. Okay.
Pharrell. Yes. No, this child's name is Pharaoh.
Okay.
Like it's spelled the exact same way in the Bible, like Pharaoh in the Bible.
And was the father making some sort of a statement with that name, or does he just think it's a cool name?
I think he thought it's a cool name.
I want to meet this child when the child's adult. Everyone's going to go up and saying, "Let my people go." So.
Okay, first of all, let's just remember that Pharaoh is a title. It's not actually a name.
But it's a name in this case. Yeah, it's the name of a child.
But the Pharaoh of Egypt was the king.
Right.
It's the title of the king. What happened to Pharaoh? Well, from everything that we can tell from Scripture, he died in rebellion to God. Remember, he had a brief minute of seeming repentance when he let the children of Israel go, but it wasn't very long after that he regretted.
He is not a positive role model in the biblical narrative.
So then he, of course, he dies trying once again to bring them back into captivity. So I think we can pretty much conclude that we will not be seeing Pharaoh.
Probably not.
In heaven.
Probably not. Maybe, but I would say, probably worth noting, that doesn't mean it couldn't be a name for somebody today. It is a name for somebody today. And
I think you kind of like that name.
I'm not opposed to that name.
I wonder if you would use that as a nickname.
I don't know. I don't know that I would. Pharaoh. Listen, when I was your professor, I was your Pharaoh. No straw for the bricks. You were like, I need an extension.
that
no straw for the bricks.
That was exactly,
but I would say that I would not be, Monica, I would not be concerned about the spiritual person. I mean, there are all kinds of followers of Jesus who are named Muhammad in the Middle East.
Yes.
And so I would say that the name does not necessarily preclude a picture of the destiny of an individual. And the name sounds like it's already set. It's a clever name. I've never heard someone named Pharaoh before, but I bet they're going to let my people go.
Yeah, and this boy is going to get a lot of attention.
He is.
What about Judas?
I would pass on that.
Well,
Judah.
But,
hey, Jude.
Judas is just a form of Judah.
Right.
So it means praise.
Yeah.
So,
That's all I got.
Well, good, because that's all the time we've got.
Hey,
Music's going to start any second now. Monica, thanks for your phone call. Everybody else that we couldn't get to today, really, really sorry. We will be here next week on Tuesday. We will not be live on Monday because of the President's Day holiday, but we will be here on Tuesday. So if you're listening or watching right now on Friday, remember, tomorrow, Saturday, Ed Stetzer live, 9 a.m. Pacific time on K-Wave or kwave.com or the K-Wave app. And then Sunday at Calvary Chapel, Costa Mesa in the evening at 6 o'clock, Pastor Brian Broderson begins his study through the New Testament.
Excited.
If your church does not have a Sunday night service, come on out to Calvary Costa Mesa. Starts at 6 o'clock. More details at cccm.com. And then Monday, enjoy the program that we recorded yesterday. It'll be a brand new episode. You haven't heard it before, unless you were watching on Facebook or YouTube yesterday when we recorded it. And then we'll be back live on Tuesday to answer your questions. God bless you guys. Thanks for listening. For Brian Broderson and our guest, Ed Stetzer, I'm Brian Perez. And Pastor's Perspective was sponsored by Calvary Chapel, Costa Mesa.